Dear students, in this week we are going to understand the role of United Nations in promoting gender equality. Before discussing the role of United Nations in promoting gender equality, we will try to understand the conceptual framework of gender equality. Dear students, gender equality refers to the equal rights, equal responsibilities, equal opportunities for all individuals regardless of their gender identity. This gender equality involves ensuring that everyone has the same access to resources, benefits, and protections irrespective of their gender. So, gender equality recognizes that both men and women should have equal power, equal influence, and equal access to opportunities in all aspects of life, like in economic participation, decision making, and social interactions. Dear students, gender equality is very important because gender equality is very fundamental to uphold the inherent dignity and rights of all individuals. This gender equality ensures that everyone, regardless of gender, is treated with respect, fairness, and equality under the law. Gender equality is also important to promote social justice by challenging discriminatory practices and structures that perpetuate inequality. It aims to eliminate gender based discrimination and prejudice, creating a more just and inclusive society for all. Gender equality, dear students, is closely linked to economic development and prosperity. When women and girls have equal access to education, employment, and economic opportunities, it contributes to overall economic growth and poverty reduction. Gender equality is also essential for promoting the health and well being of individuals and communities. It ensures access to healthcare services, reproductive rights, and information, therefore, leading to better health outcomes for all genders. Their students' gender equality is also associated with greater peace and stability within societies. Many researchers suggest that societies with higher levels of gender equality tend to have lower levels of violence and conflict, as gender equality promotes cooperation, inclusion, and social cohesion. This gender equality is also integral to achieve the sustainable development goals set by the United Nations. It is recognized as a standalone goal under goal number 5, that is gender equality, and is also mainstreamed across other goals, highlighting its cross cutting importance in achieving sustainable development. Dear students, gender equality also promotes diversity of perspectives and experiences, which can lead to greater innovation and creativity in various fields. When individuals are empowered to contribute their unique talents and ideas, it enhances problem solving and decision making processes. So, dear students, we can say that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but also a prerequisite for achieving a more equitable, prosperous, and sustainable world. It requires ongoing efforts at the individual, institutional, and societal levels to challenge stereotypes, dismantle barriers, and promote equal opportunities for all genders. Dear students, now we will try to understand the evolution of gender roles. The evolution of gender roles and societal norms has been a complex and multifaceted process influenced by various factors like historical, cultural, economic, and political. Some of the key stages in the evolution of gender roles and societal norms are like hunter gatherer societies. In early human societies, gender roles were often based on biological differences, with men engaging in hunting and gathering activities while women took on roles related to caregiving, food preparation, and child care. These roles were influenced by the division of labor, which was considered necessary for survival in a nomadic lifestyle. Agricultural revolution. The transition to settled agricultural societies brought about changes in gender roles as societies became more complex. With the rise of agriculture, men tend to take on roles related to farming, land ownership, and defense, while women continue to be responsible for domestic tasks and child care. Patriarchal structures begin to emerge, with men gaining greater control over resources and decision making. Dear students, the Industrial Revolution marked a significant shift in gender roles as economies shifted from agrarian to industrial. Men migrated to urban areas to work in factories and other industries, while women remained in rural areas or took on domestic work. This period saw the emergence of the separate spheres ideology, which prescribed distinctive roles for men, public sphere, and women for private sphere. Dear students, in the late 19th and early 20th century, there was the rise of women's suffrage movements and feminist activism. These suffrage movements and feminist activism challenged traditional gender roles and advocate for women's rights like a right to vote, access to education, equal opportunities in the workforce. These movements therefore contributed to significant legal and social changes such as the recognition of women's right to property and the right to divorce. Dear students, the two world wars led to temporary shifts in gender roles as women took on roles traditionally held by men in the workforce while men were away at war. After the wars, there was a push for women to return their traditional roles as homemakers, but the experience of working outside the home led to lasting changes in women's expectations and aspirations. In 1960 and now 1970s, there was emergence of the second wave of feminism, which focused on issues such as reproductive rights, workplace discrimination, and gender equality. This period saw the passage of legislation such as Equal Pay Act and Title IX in the United States, which aimed at addressing gender based discrimination. Dear students, in the recent decades, there has been increasing recognition of the diversity of gender identities and expressions, which challenge traditional binary notions of gender. Movements for LGBT rights and transgender rights have pushed for greater acceptance and inclusion of gender diversity in society. So, dear students, we can say the evolution of gender roles and societal norms has been marked by progress towards greater gender equality. But challenges remain in addressing deep rooted stereotypes, discrimination, and inequalities. Ongoing efforts are needed to promote gender equality and create more inclusive and equitable societies for people of all genders. Dear students, now we will try to understand the difference between sex and gender. These two terms, sex and gender, are often used interchangeably in everyday language. But these two terms actually differ from each other. Sex refers to the biological characteristics that define an individual as male, female, or intersex. These biological characteristics are typically determined by factors such as chromosomes, hormones, and reproductive anatomy. Traditionally, sex has been understood in a binary framework, with individuals categorized as either male or female based on their biological attributes. This classification is based on the presence of specific sex chromosomes. Dear students, sex is often considered to be a relatively stable and immutable aspect of an individual's identity, determined by biological factors that are present at birth and remain consistent throughout life. Gender refers to the social, cultural, and psychological attributes, roles, and expectations associated with being male, female. Unlike sex, which is biologically determined, gender is socially constructed and varies across different societies and cultures. Gender identity refers to an individual's deep felt sense of being male, female, or something else, which may or may not align with this sex assigned to them at birth. Gender identity is internal and may be fluid or evolving over time. So, gender includes the roles, behaviors, norms, and expectations that society associates with masculinity and femininity. These include stereotypes about how men and women should behave, dress, and interact with others. So, dear students, we can say that sex refers to a biological characteristics such as chromosomes and reproductive anatomy. Gender includes the social, cultural, and psychological aspects associated with being male, female. Understanding the distinction between sex and gender is important for recognizing the complexity of human identity and addressing issues related to gender equality and inclusivity. Dear students, now we will try to understand gender stereotypes and their impact. Dear students, gender stereotypes are deeply ingrained beliefs or assumptions about the characteristics, roles, behaviors, and attributes deemed appropriate for individuals based on their gender. These stereotypes often perpetuate rigid and narrow expectations, reinforcing traditional notions of masculinity and femininity. Now we will discuss these gender stereotypes and their impact in detail. Dear students, gender stereotypes reinforce societal norms and expectations surrounding masculinity and femininity. These stereotypes dictate how individuals should behave, dress, and interact based on their perceived gender. For example, stereotypes may dictate that men should be strong, assertive, while women should be nurturing, passive, and emotional. Gender stereotypes can also limit individuals' potential by restricting their opportunities and choices based on societal expectations. They may discourage individuals from pursuing interests or careers that are not aligned with traditional gender roles. For instance, boys may be discouraged from expressing vulnerability or pursuing interests in traditionally feminine activities like cooking or caregiving, while girls may face barriers in pursuing careers in male dominated fields. These gender stereotypes can also have negative effects on mental health by contributing to feelings of inadequacy, low self esteem, and identity conflicts, especially for individuals whose identities do not conform to traditional gender norms. For example, transgender and non binary individuals may experience gender dysphoria and psychological distress due to societal pressure to conform to binary gender expectations. Gender stereotypes may also contribute to the perpetuation of gender inequality by reinforcing power imbalances between men and women. They often assign higher values to masculine traits and behaviors while devaluing feminine qualities, leading to unequal treatment and opportunities. This can manifest in various spaces like in education, employment, politics, and domestic roles, where women may face discrimination and barriers to advancement. Gender stereotypes may also influence how individuals perceive and interact with others, shaping social dynamics and relationships. They may lead to assumptions and biases based on gender, affecting communication, decision making, and interpersonal interactions. For example, stereotypes about gender roles within relationships may result in unequal distribution of household chores and responsibilities, as well as expectations regarding emotional labor and caregiving. Gender stereotypes can also contribute to resistance towards gender diversity and inclusion by reinforcing binary notions of gender and stigmatizing non conforming identities and expressions. This resistance may manifest in forms of discrimination, harassment, and violence against individuals who challenge traditional gender norms such as transgender and gender non-conforming individuals. So, dear students, gender stereotypes have a great impact on individual lives and perpetuate inequality by reinforcing gender expectations and limitations based on gender. Challenging and dismantling these stereotypes is essential for promoting gender equality, promoting inclusivity, and affirming the rights and identities of all individuals regardless of their gender. Dear students, now we are going to discuss gender discrimination and its manifestations. Gender discrimination refers to the unequal treatment or unfavorable attitudes and behaviors towards individuals based on their gender. It includes a wide range of practices and behaviors that systematically disadvantage individuals or groups on the basis of their gender identity or expression. Some of the manifestations of this gender discrimination are like unequal access to education. Gender discrimination in education can take various forms like disparities in enrollment, access to resources, and educational opportunities based on gender. Girls may face barriers to education due to factors such as cultural norms, early marriage, and lack of access to schools. Gender wage gap. The gender wage gap refers to the disparity in earnings between men and women performing the same or similar work. Gender discrimination in the workplace, including biases in hiring, promotion, and salary decisions, contributes to the persistence of the wage gap. Occupational segregation occurs when certain jobs or industries are dominated by one gender, leading to unequal opportunities and outcomes. This can result from societal stereotypes and biases about gender roles and abilities, therefore, limit individuals' career choices and advancement opportunities. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment involves unwelcome sexual advances, comments, or behaviors that create a hostile or intimidating environment for individuals based on their gender. It can occur in various settings, including the workforce, educational institutions, and public spaces, and is often rooted in power imbalances and gender based stereotypes. Gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, dear students, include various forms of violence, including domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and harmful traditional practices such as female genital mutilation and forced marriage. It is rooted in unequal power relations between men and women and is often used as a mean to control to subordinate women and girls. Discriminatory laws and policy. Gender discrimination can be institutionalized through laws, policies, and practices that systematically disadvantage individuals based on their gender. This includes discriminatory legal frameworks related to marriage, divorce, inheritance, and property rights, as well as discriminatory practices within institutions such as healthcare and criminal justice systems. Stigmatization of non-conforming gender identities. Individuals who do not conform to traditional gender norms may face discrimination, stigma, and social exclusion based on their gender identity. This can manifest in various forms like verbal harassment, exclusion from social activities, and denial of access to services and resources. Reproductive rights violation. Gender discrimination can also impact individuals' reproductive rights, including access to contraception, abortion, and maternal health care. Policies and practices that restrict women's autonomy and decision making regarding their reproductive health contribute to gender inequality and discrimination. So, addressing gender discrimination requires comprehensive efforts to challenge stereotypes, promote gender equality, and uphold the rights and dignity of all individuals, regardless of their gender identity. This includes legal reforms, education, and awareness raising initiatives, support for survivors of gender based violence, and measures to promote gender sensitive policies and practices in all sectors of society. So, dear students, in today's lecture, we have seen that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but also a prerequisite for achieving a more equitable, prosperous, and sustainable world. It involves ensuring equal rights, opportunities, and protections for all individuals, regardless of their gender identity. Gender equality promotes social justice, economic development, health and well being, peace and stability, and innovation and creativity. However, achieving gender equality requires challenging and dismantling gender stereotypes, addressing various forms of gender discrimination, and promoting inclusive policies and practices at all levels of society. So, dear students, by working together to challenge these inequalities and create more inclusive environment, we can build a world where everyone has the opportunity to fulfill their potential regardless of their gender. Thank you.